everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Cow. Today we are making the single crochet triangle. This is our month of making triangles on Mondays and Wednesdays. So we are making this single crochet triangle, or that way up, whichever way you prefer. We make it from the point up to the top. So often triangles are made from the bottom to the point, so you start from your longest side, so you have to determine the size you're going to make first. The beauty of this method that we're using from the point upwards means that you can make a triangle of infinite size. You don't have to know to begin with what size you're going to make. You can just start and just keep adding rows until it's the size you desire. So it's a great pattern for just doing it to whatever size you wish to stop at. So it's a great one for using for all sorts of projects. So I'm going to show you how to make the basic triangle single crochet. All you need to know how to do is the slip knot, chain and single crochet. This is US terms, so in the UK when I talk about single crochet, that will be a double crochet, okay, and that's as simple as it is today. Chains and single crochet or double crochet if you're using UK terms, and I will show you how to make these other colour variations as well. So grab your hook and yarn and let's have a look at how it's made. Oh, and you might want a cup of tea as well. So let's get started with the single crochet triangle. So we'll start with a slip stitch on our hook, and then we are going to chain 2, and then we're going to make 2 single crochet in the second chain from the hook. So don't count this one, make 2 single crochet in the second chain, and that is row 1. Okay, row 2 onwards, each row is going to follow the same pattern in that we chain 1 and then we turn our work around. We do 1 stitch in each stitch and 2 in the last stitch. So 1 stitch and then 2 stitches in the last stitch. Okay. So now we have 3 stitches on row 2, and each row will increase by 1 stitch, and it will be 1 stitch more than the row number. So row 1 had 2 stitches, row 2 has 3 stitches, and in a moment row 3 will have 4 stitches. So if you need to count how many rows you've done, count your stitches, and it will be so we have 3 stitches here. So that's row 2. Okay, so chain 1, turn your work, 1 stitch in each, 1, 2, and then 2 in the last stitch. So that's 4 stitches for row 3. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 stitch in each, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and a second one in that last stitch, 5. So row 4, 5 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 stitch in each, 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, 4 and 5. Go under both loops there. The last stitch can sometimes be a little fiddly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a second one in that last stitch, making 6. So row 5, 6 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 stitch in each, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and a second one in that last stitch, making 7 stitches for row 6. And I'll do one more row with you. Chain 1, turn your work, 1 stitch in each. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a second one in that same stitch. 8. Row 7, 8 stitches. So you get the idea there. What you're going to do if you are continuing to make a 6-inch triangle, obviously you have your triangle here of whatever size you choose. You can just work it up as for as small or as big as you like. So just keep continuing in the same way. To make a 6-inch square with the DK number 4 yarn and a 4.5mm hook, depending on tension and everything else, you'll need approximately 21 rows for 6 inches, for each side to be 6 inches. This is an equilateral triangle, so every time you make a row, each side should be the same measurement. Okay, so the squares we're making this month are all approximately 6 inches that we're showing you. Obviously a lot of them you can make bigger if you prefer, but 6 inches is approximately 21 rows, and that will be 22 stitches. So if you're not sure, then 22 stitches should be approximately 6 inches. Just grab a ruler and tape measure and have a measure if you want all your squares, sorry, all your triangles to be the same size this month. Okay, so I'm going to continue this, making this plain silver grey triangle, and then I'm going to come back and show you some variations on how you can change this up to make it not plain. So I will see you when I finish this. And here we go. Here's my finished triangle. I actually, for me, I needed to do 26 rows. I've ended with 27 stitches along the top, and that makes my sides 6 inches. So whether I've crocheted tightly or whether our testers for the pattern crochet loosely, I don't know, but it doesn't really matter. As long as you've got your 6-inch triangle, if you wish it to be 6 inches, it doesn't really matter whether it's 21 rows or 28 rows, really, does it? So so somewhere between 21 rows and 26 rows, so 22 to 27 stitches. So when I was doing that sort of flick through of the progress of my triangle, the last photo was it at 21 rows, 22 stitches. So that shows you the difference between that and between this. So this is a 6-inch triangle. So all that's left to do is to fasten off. So just go with your hook as if you're going to do a chain, pull through some yarn and then snip that yarn off and pull it tight, and there you go. All you've got is just 2 ends to sew in to make your triangle finished. So obviously this is the triangle point upwards. sideways, whichever you prefer. We are going to be showing you at some point, we're going to be showing you some things you can make with triangles. If you haven't got any idea, if you're just making them and thinking I don't know what to do with these, then we are going to give you some ideas. And obviously they can be sewn together to make blankets and things, the usual kind of things, blankets, cushion covers. So just to show you, this is one that we made a couple of days ago, and just to show that if you are making them all the same size, that it doesn't matter what pattern they are, if you are making them all the same size, they will all be able to be stitched together to make something. Okay, so being the same size is brilliant. Okay, so and these were these were 1A and 1B, and they are on the playlist, which I'll hopefully have a link below for. Okay, so that's the basic single crochet triangle. I'm going to show you a couple of ways you can change this up now, so stay tuned. Okay, so one way you can change it up is by changing colours. So what I'm going to do is 3 blocks of colour. Let me bring my other triangle in. I'm going to do the point in grey, and then I'm going to have a section of this peachy colour, and then I'm going to have a final section of grey. So the way to do that is I've done 9 rows, bearing in mind I had 26 rows. So I'm going to leave those last 2 loops of colour on my hook for the last stitch, and let's make sure it is the last stitch, and then I'm going to bring in my new colour, leaving a tail to sew in, and grabbing a loop there and pulling that through those last 2 loops of the previous colour. And then, because I'm going to be doing quite a chunk, I'm going to cut this grey off, and then I will rejoin it later. So now I'm going to do another 8 or 9 rows, or maybe 7, so that I'm always doing my colour changes on the same side. If I change on an odd number and then on an even number row, then the first row will look different. So I'm going to try and do them all on odd number rows. So I'll probably do 7 rows. So I've done 9 rows of grey, and then I'm going to do 7 of the peach. So you've just pull through those 2 loops there, and then grab the working end of yarn and just continue. If you're worried about this pulling through, then you could just loosely tie these 2 tails together. But just for the first stitch, it's fine. You can also work over the tail if you prefer. And chain 1, turn your work, and then continue on with your stitches just as you previously have. And then all you'll need to do is just give that a slight pull to just tighten that, and the silver one as well. And then you can just fix that when you sew the ends in, and it will be just fine. So I'm going to continue and do 7, 8 rows of this peachy colour, and I will finish so that I join the grey back on this side. Okay, so I'll come back and show you when I've done this peach and rejoin the silver. And here we are with my block of peach. So I have worked up to row 17, so I've done 8 rows and have 18 single crochets across the top now. So for me, I need to do 26 rows altogether, making 27 single crochets. So I'm going to do the last 10 rows in silver. So it doesn't really matter how many rows these are, I'm just telling you what I've done in case you're wanting to copy it completely. So to do, but as you can see, I said I was going to finish so that I could restart the grey on the same side so that it looks the same. Okay. So, so that this, this colour join here and the new colour join will look the same, rather than it looking different from front to back. Okay, so as before, I've got the last 2 loops on my hook of that peach, so I'm going to grab the grey, make a loop, leaving a tail, and pull that through those last 2 loops of peach. Okay, like so. And then I'm going to cut the peach, leaving a tail, and then I'm going to restart with the grey in exactly the same way as I did before. Okay, remember, if you are a bit worried about these tails coming loose, you can just loosely tie them for now. But I'm just going to start working my chain 1 and single crochet. So that is that. So I'll come back and I'll show you how this looks when I've got the 3 sections completed. And there we go. There's my completed triangle in the 2 colours with the thick stripes. So I really love that effect. I think it's a really nice effect. That is one variation from doing it plain, and as you can see, it is single crochet, so it does want to curl up a bit. You can see this one's gone quite curly, but you can just block them and make them lay flat. So there's the 2, the thick stripe and the plain. I'll show you how you can do a thin stripe, changing colour every row, just to show you that effect, because you don't need to cut your yarn every row for this one. But this one you might want to pop a border on with this one, because you will be carrying your yarn up the sides. So I'm going to start with my silver as I have done before. So I'm just going to start with the silver and chain 2, and then I'm going to put 2 single crochets in that second chain from the hook. 1, 2, and I'm going to leave those last 2 loops on the hook, and I'm going to take my peach colour, leave a tail for sewing in, and pull that loop through, just as we did on the on this wide one, just as we did for these colour changes here. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to leave the grey where it is, and I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and do those stitches across as usual. Grab those 2 loops in there. Oops. This first couple of rows is always a little more tricky with those stitches. So 2 stitches in that last one. There we go. And then just pull this yarn a little tighter so it's not sort of really loose. Okay. And then you're going to work, well, I'm going to work back in this colour. So chain 1. And then do those stitches. Let's do 2 in this last one. Grab that loop. It's gone down a long way. Let's grab that with your finger. There we go. Okay, so that's 1, and then the second one we're going to leave those 2 loops on. And I'm going to bring up the yarn from my previous grey row, which is here, and pull through. Okay, making sure I give a slight pull on it so there's nothing loose down here, and then I'm going to leave that peach where it is and do 2 rows of the grey. And the reason I'm doing 2 rows is so that I can go across and back and then pick up this peach from where I left it. So just do these 2 rows and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so I'm on my last stitch of that row and I've got the last 2 loops on my hook there. So I'm going to drop that grey down, bring up the peach, give a slight pull to just make sure it's not loose at the last stitch I did in peach, and pull through the grey and leave the grey where it is. Okay, and then when I come back to the grey next time, I'll just give a slight pull to make sure it hasn't gone loose in the last stitch. So then I'm just going to continue with the chain 1 and working my 2 rows of peach. Now I'm doing 2 rows so that I go back and forth back to where I left the yarn. If you started your new colour on the opposite side of the row, then you could just do a single row of colour, and then you would be picking up one colour this side and one colour this side. Okay, so you'd have one colour carrying up this way and one colour carrying this way. And you by all means could do that, that would work. It's just where I started my colour change, it was happened to all be on the same side. So I'm doing 2 rows of each colour. So you can see how you can totally change up the look of these single crochet triangles. You could use more than 2 colours. You could literally make it a rainbow and change it however you prefer. I need to use those, leave those last 2 loops. So just undid that stitch. Okay, bring the grey back up and through. Okay, and then I'm going to continue this, making the 2 rows of each colour until the end. And then I will show you those yarn carries, how they look, and tell you how you can get over those and hide them if you are wanting to hide them. So I'm going to continue this and then I'll see you a bit later. There we go, I finished my stripy triangle, and how good did that look? Love it, love it. So all I've got are 2 ends of each colour because I've carried it up the side. So if I bring this into the camera, hopefully it will show. You can see these strands of yarn where it's carried up. Probably a bit better on the back if I turn it over. So you do have these pieces of yarn. It doesn't look too untidy. Like I said, if you were changing every row rather than every other row, you would have one colour going up here and you'd have the other going up this side. So it would alternate. But you can choose to pop a border on your triangle, go around popping 1 single crochet into the end of the rows and making a border and then covering these pieces of yarn over, covering those over. That will make your triangle slightly bigger than so if you've worked up to 6 inches and you then do the border, it will be slightly bigger. So you may wish to stop a row early and make your border to bring it up to the 6 inches. But if you were going to join this triangle, depending on the method you were choosing to join it together with another triangle, then those yarns would just be hidden in your join depending on which way you joined it. So you know, you don't have to do the border straight away. You could wait and see how what you're going to make with these and then make a decision there on what you're going to do. And if you were going to pop a border on and it made it bigger, then you could just pop a border onto all your triangles and then they would all still be the same size. So there we go. And there are the 3 triangles that we've made today. So we've got the plain one, we've got the one that has blocks of colour, and then we've got the 2-row stripes. And I love them all. I think they would work brilliantly together in a project. Making a plain, if I made a plain peach one and made this one with the opposite colours, I think they would work really well with all the different styles together. And of course you can change these up as much as you like. This is just some ideas to get you started. So I would love to see what you've made with this single crochet triangle. I would love to see your variations on this. And of course this is just using single crochet. There are so many other variations of changing it up and adding in bobbles and popcorns and some filet and so many other options for that, but this is just the plain, this is just a single crochet stitch and chained, and that's all it takes. And then just how you change your yarn and colours gives it the different look. So if you have made some of these triangles, then please come and join us in the Facebook group Beyond the Cal and show us what you've made. There will be an album there to pop your pictures in and show us your delights. The link for that is in the description below, as well as all the other information. So I hope you found this tutorial useful and helpful, and you've enjoyed crocheting along with me. It's always a pleasure to join you to crochet. So until next time, don't let your tea get cold and just keep hooking. And I said that backwards today. Just keep hooking and don't let your tea get cold.